Hey there guys, it's Joey. So it's been a while since I've done the Wild Tarot comparison, Wild Unknown Tarot comparison to the Shadowscapes deck. And I thought, given I had a kind of divination-y start to the morning, I might as well do another one while I'm in between working on bits and pieces that I'm working on today. So I pulled 5 cards, and because it's been a while we're going to have 5. And I believe we've only got one major, so yes. So it might not take that long anyway. So we're going to start just showing the cards, and then I'm going to move them out of shot a minute while we focus on one. And behind we have the divination candle burning. So there we go. So the first card is the Hierophant. And as we can see in the Wild Unknown, it's a raven. So that's he's getting everywhere this week. So he's a raven on a key, and he's crowing. His mouth is open. The background is very, very bland, apart from the one coloured lightning bolt that sort of is behind him. So that's what we can see in the picture. And then if you compare it to the Stephanie Pooman Law one, the Stephanie Pooman Law one is a sort of ent figure, a tree spirit, very old, lots of roots, holding a staff, and yes, I think it's lizards or salamanders possibly with wings all around him. And he's obviously a very old tree, and he has a third eye on there, and lots of swirls and lots of imagery of stars and sun within the rock. It's a beautiful, they're both beautiful cards. They both speak beautifully of what the actual meaning of the card is. So when we look at the Hierophant in the top card, we have to think about what each part individually means to us. So what does the raven represent to me personally? Now, to me personally, it's all to do with the Morrigan, it's all to do with the crone aspect more so than any other. So that would be Bave in my path, which is to do with wisdom, understanding, death and rebirth, knowledge, sort of furthering our spiritual understanding, spiritual growth, through sometimes more difficult challenges. Then it is perched happily on a key, so keys are fantastic imagery. Again, they are often connected to crone energy, to all of those ideas that we've already mentioned. And then there is the unlocking of something, the accessing of knowledge, the accessing of something. And I did key sets recently, so I was in tune with that recently anyway, that sort of finding the key to what it is that you're looking for. And then we will read to you from the Shadowscapes book as we do, just for a point of reference. And this is from the Shadowscapes. So his roots reach deep, entwined around secrets and traditions and of the ages. He believes in ritual and ceremony, in pursuing knowledge and deeper meaning, and the rigidity of a belief system. He elucidates the spiritual and brings it to the earthly plane. He is in calm and in possession of himself, and he's the teacher who can help unravel mysteries. So for both these cards that works really well. The Raven, of course, is going to work better for some people who perhaps have that connection there, and obviously I do. So it has a really wonderful imagery for me as being a teacher, as a guide, and being steeped in spirituality. For me, that's perfect. Both these cards are absolutely crazy, incredibly beautiful for the way they represent knowledge of the ages. You know, you have a raven in one, which is a bird, it's air, it's flight, it's very aloft, whereas in the card below it's all to do with deep roots, the trees, ancient things. But both cards represent that in a completely different way, but perfectly. And something that's worth noting is that ravens are supposed to be able to see past, present and future all in one time. So that's worth knowing. The next card is the Seven of Cups. So, as is always the case with the Wild Unknown Tarot, I think the major arcana are always slightly more impressive than the minor, which is a shame in some ways. It tends to be a bit simple with regards to the minor arcana. I think that's where the Shadowscapes truly outdoes it half the time, because it just has so much more detail. It swings and roundabouts, I suppose. So we have the 7 cups, and 6 of them are upside down and 1 is upright. Then there's very much a sort of path of an optical illusion leading up to this particular cup that is the right way up. So it's just literally a pathway of finding the right cup. The cups are blank and white, they're an unknown thing, it's the unknown that they're going towards. It's a very direct path to the upright cup. Is that more easy to identify? Is it the easier path to that one, or is that the only path that's available? It's possible. The card beneath it is the, I think we can see it right from there, is the 7 of Cups from the Shadowscapes, and has a woman and a man. He's looking at a map with cups all around his feet. She's pointing off into the floating island distance. She's sort of looking up, away, and then there's a sort of indecision here because he's trying to focus, trying to find the path, presumably the safe path. She's got her head in the clouds. And the 7 of Cups involves indulging in fantasies. You have too many options. With so many paths, the task becomes daunting. There are too many desires. Some of them are within the realm of reality, others not so much. Some are wise courses of actions, some merely sing the siren song of temptation that could lead to a destructive path. Unlimited possibilities. Now, the card up top doesn't really speak of unlimited opportunities because of the very directness of the path. I think what it does show quite well is many options, but only limited ones of those are accessible. This card down here, the Shadowscapes, could have a little bit more pathway on it, because, you know, they do seem, it is supposed to sort of represent the path ahead, and there's not so much path there. There is sort of lots of landscape around them, suggesting they could have come up on the hillside, but there could be a little bit more detailing of the path, but otherwise it does its job well. Okay, so the next one is actually the 6 of Cups. We're going back one, and I think both of these represent the 6 of Cups really, really beautifully. So the 6 of Cups here is a tree, and the card is half and half, and the tree is sort of with lines behind it suggesting perhaps the darker part, and the tree up top is all in shadow. The tree underneath, however, is in the background completely in light, and the roots are in multiple strands of colour, bright, vibrant, popping out with the 6 of Cups around it in shadow. It's quite blatant what the card is actually referring to here. It's literally drawing attention to roots. Roots are where you come from, where you start. And we consider roots to be where we were born, or where we came from, or our family, or where we grew up. And that is something it is referring to in the scope of the emotional sphere. So going back to your roots for understanding, going back to how you were when you were less troubled than you are now, because the roots here are very bright and vibrant. So it's going back and drawing on experiences where you were happy or bright or vibrant to better understand the current situation or how you should react. It's beautiful for that. 6 of Cups below is from Shadowscapes, is pretty much the same thing. There's a young girl playing tea party. There are actual fairies all around her watching her play this tea party, and the fish in the rivers and the cups and everything, and it's a beautiful idyllic childhood scene with fairies and tea parties and all that good sort of thing. The Six of Cups is a reminder of childhood innocence, good intentions, noble impulses, simple joys and pleasures. It is not meant to be overly sentimental, but an urging to remember the open-mindedness of a child's perspective, push back the narrowness that folds in on you over time. So going back to sort of an innocent perspective to regain balance, to relook at the situation. So I think those work really well. The Ace of Pentacles is next. I really like this card in both decks, and I may or may not have mentioned it before, but I think both these decks do real homage to the Pentacles, which quite often suffer in terms of artists rendering them within tarot sets. They seem to get very excited about all the other cards, and the Pentacles sort of seem to end up falling by the wayside. It's like they give up with the imagery. It's like, oh well, they're boring, so... But both of these decks really bring something out of the Pentacles, which I love. So the top card from the Wild Unknown is obviously the base of a tree. Now this means a lot to me. I have a lot of connections with the base of trees. I've often been told my eyes look like the rings of a tree, like that, which I've been told that by other people, and so that to me sort of gives me a window of looking at something. It's obviously a circle, it's obviously a tree. The pentacle is actually like in the grooves of the tree. I love that imagery. The colour at the centre, sort of life right at the big centre, and the leaves growing. So there is an element of growth still. It's almost like we've been given a glimpse inside a tree, and it's still growing. There's still growth there. There's still life at the centre with that pop of colour, that beginning, which is beautiful. And then you have the circle, you have sort of an element of time here, of growth, of everything to do with the tree growing, of strength, of beginning, but still you have the strength to pursue this. And then of course you have sort of earth tree imagery, and then that naturally ties in with, you know, projects of a certain nature. So often pentacles are home, hearth or job related, so you can easily see that being within the imagery of a tree, of getting your roots into the world, of growth, of becoming, from small acorns grow mighty oaks type thing. And the card beneath from the Shadowscape utilises the lizards. I've forgotten what they're. The horned lizards actually are. Is it supposed to be chameleons? Chameleons? I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be chameleons, but maybe they're like fairy chameleons. So we have a beautiful pentacles down here with a sort of Green Man-esque style face with the leaves in gold and embossed. So there's earth, but it's still, you know, monetary. And then these little lizards all the way over their branches. There's lots of spirals in their tails and on the branches, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to read to you from the book. The possibility of prosperity, abundance and security. It is the promise of wealth and well-being. Energy spent will see no return. The seed has been dropped into the fertile earth. What will sprout from that seed? The Suit of Pentacles is a promise that something will come, but it will require patience and work. That works beautifully for both these images. In ancient Egypt, the lizard represented good fortune and divine wisdom, hence all the spirals. They lead the way from nebulous dreams and the fantastic, ever-changing realms of desires and wishes into the reality of being. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And finally, we have the Father of Cups. Whew, goodness. So the Father of Cups, or the King of Cups, depending on which set you're looking at, it's very, very simplistic within the Wild Unknown. A little bit more detail, but still reasonably simplistic for the Shadowscape, because Shadowscape can on occasion be very symbolism rich. So we have a swan, which is used throughout the Wild Unknown, And he's a black swan, and he's regal and proud, and then the cup above him, and it does almost say water in this little sort of detailing the back, like almost like a waterfall behind him. What can you say about the black swan? I mean, the black swan is often seen as sort of the negative, more possessive side, so you could actually sort of draw on that mythos in the negative sense. But, you know, swans mate for life, that's romantic, it's a strength of committed relationship. It could speak of light and dark sides of the male in question, which is usually what the kings refer to. Beneath we have sort of a Poseidon image from the Shadowscapes. There are turtles, there's a seahorse, and I'm going to read to you from the book. He is wise and understanding, he knows the meaning of patience. I don't know that swans speak of that particularly. Like the sea turtles that swim at his sides, he guides the way with steady calm. He reads the knowledge of the centuries that has been etched in the pattern of their shells, etc. The seahorse is a symbol of the power of Poseidon, the tireless strength of the sea. I suppose you could say that swans are very strong creatures, very strong and very loyal. His grace is armoured by the spines of his exoskeleton. That works for both. He is a protector, he cares and watches all over those that are near him. He offers a drink from his healing waters, he offers compassion and care. Patient, tolerant, and understands that all aspects and needs of the people around him have to be balanced. So there is a grace and beauty balance with a strength in both. That's very much the case. Otherwise it can be a little bit difficult without perhaps going and reading a whole ton on sort of swan lore, or if you don't have a particular connection with a particular bird. Whereas I had a particular connection with the raven for the Hierophant, so it sort of brought up a whole metric ton of imagery. Swan is something I am less, although not completely absent from, connection with, and perhaps it's something I need to explore a little more in depth for my sort of overreaching, overall understanding of the cards. So that has been it for today for the Wild Unknown Tarot. Many blessings.